Hello, I'm Camelia and this is KiniNews. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim visited Saudi Arabia recently. However, his trip has been criticized by some quarters. Now a government MP has called on the opposition to not try to score political points and to defend Anwar instead. Pasir Gudang MP Hassan Karim said everyone, including the opposition, should defend Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim rather than attack him if it was true that he was embarrassed by the Saudi royal family during his visit to Saudi Arabia. In a statement today, Hassan said the opposition should not try to score political points on such matters because the Prime Minister represents all Malaysians. He said all Malaysians should be angry towards King Salman and his Crown Prince Mohammed Salman. Hassan described the incident as a breach of diplomatic protocol by the Saudi government and should not be used by the opposition. Anwar visited Saudi Arabia on March 22nd and departed on March 24th. According to Wisma Putra, the visit was at the invitation of the Saudi Crown Prince. In a press statement, they said Anwar was scheduled to have audiences with His Majesty King Salman Abdulaziz Al Saud, custodian of the two holy mosques, and His Royal Highness Mohammed Salman Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. However, the audiences were never granted. Following this, Bersatu's Machang MP Wan Ahmad Fayhsal Wan Ahmad Kamal described the matter as a diplomatic blunder, arguing that former Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin was treated differently and was received by the Crown Prince himself at the airport. Wan Fayhsal also pointed out that Muhyiddin was allowed to enter the Kaaba, a privilege reserved for foreign dignitaries, while Anwar was not. However, Anwar's political secretary Ahmad Farhan Fauzi said the Saudi Arabian government had asked Anwar to extend his official visit so that they could arrange meetings between him and Saudi leaders. He said Anwar had to decline the request because of his scheduled iftar event with the Yang di-Pertuan Agong and a one-day official visit to Cambodia. He said Anwar was also scheduled to make a visit to China on Wednesday, where he will meet President Xi Jinping. He added that certain quarters with veiled interests are deliberately trying to politicize Anwar's recent visit to Saudi Arabia. Despite the explanation by Anwar's political secretary, Wan Fayhsal submitted an emergency motion in the Dewan Rakyat calling for an explanation for Anwar's Saudi visit. A Perikatan Nasional MP filed an emergency motion today for Parliament to discuss Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's trip to Saudi Arabia. Among others, the motion seeks to discuss the economic impact as well as the bilateral ties between Malaysia and Saudi Arabia from Anwar's official visit to the country from March 22nd to 24th. Machang MP Wan Ahmad Fayhsal Wan Ahmad Kamal said they considered Anwar's visit as a failure and wanted an explanation on the outcome of the trip.
Apakah benar Arab Saudi, kerajaan Arab Saudi tidak mahu berjumpa dengan Yang Amat Perdana Menteri? Sebabnya kalau kita lihat laporan-laporan media di tangan saya ni, banyak ni semua agensi media Arab Saudi ya. Raja Salman dan juga putera mahkota Yang Amat Perdana Menteri Arab Saudi semuanya ada di Jeddah ketika mana Yang Amat Perdana Menteri hadir ketika itu. Ya, mereka bukan di luar negara, mereka ada. Dan ini menimbulkan persoalan. Apakah hubungan Malaysia dan Arab Saudi menjadi dingin? Mungkin akibat penutupan King Salman Center for International Peace ketika zaman kerajaan Pakatan Harapan dahulu.
Wan Fayhsal also sought to know the amount of money spent on the Prime Minister's delegation for the trip. He said the diplomatic snub could impact Malaysia in various ways, such as the Hajj quota and palm oil sales aid from Saudi. He further questioned why Anwar's Saudi trip was done in a hasty manner, something he claimed embarrassed both Malaysia and the Saudi government. Yesterday, Community Communications Department Director General Muhammad Agus Yusof had defended Anwar's trip after the opposition painted it as a failure. According to Agus, the success of Anwar's trip should not be judged solely on the fact there was no meeting with the Saudi king and the Crown Prince. Anwar's political secretary had also explained the situation, saying that the Saudi government wanted Anwar to extend his official visit, but Anwar had to decline the request due to other scheduled events. He added that certain quarters with veiled interests are deliberately trying to politicize Anwar's recent visit to the country. Lim Kuan Eng has denied Muhyiddin's claims on the Al-Bukhari Foundation tax exemption status and has filed a defamation suit against him. Former Finance Minister Lim Kuan Eng has filed a defamation suit against former Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin. This is over Muhyiddin's claim that he had revoked the tax exemption status of the Al-Bukhari Foundation. Lim's legal team filed a writ of summons at the High Court in Kuala Lumpur this morning. According to a copy of the statement of claim, Lim claimed that Muhyiddin defamed him via statements published on 3 separate dates, namely on March 9th and March 11th via Facebook and on March 12th when interviewed by the press. He said the first statement, which was made after Muhyiddin's arrest and release by MACC, was intentionally made with a view to achieving cheap and glaring publicity while trying to deflect public attention to the DAP chairperson with unjustified and false claims. He said the second was made through a media release on March 11th, claiming that he had imposed a tax on the foundation. He added that the third statement was made to the press after the Muhyiddin gave a winding-up speech at a Bersatu event at Menara PGRM, Kuala Lumpur, and claimed that the IRB was under Lim's purview at the time and the cancellation of the tax exemption came from him. Lim claimed that the statements were made out of malice and had implied, among others, that he had abused his power at the time by directing the Inland Revenue Board to impose tax and penalties on the Welfare Foundation when such an organization was not liable to taxation. Lim denied the allegations and also claimed that they were politically motivated with the malicious intention to tarnish his image by painting him as racist and anti-Islam. He said despite a letter of demand, Muhyiddin, via a reply from his solicitors dated March 21st, refused to apologize and retract his statement, among others. He is seeking general, aggravated and punitive damages as well as an injunction to restrain Muhyiddin from issuing or publishing further defamatory statements. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi has won his bid for the permanent return of his passport to enable him to perform his duties. The Court of Appeal today allowed Deputy Prime Minister Ahmad Zahid Hamidi to get his passport back permanently for international travel to attend official functions. A 3-person bench unanimously allowed the fresh application by Zahid. Deputy Public Prosecutor Abdul Malik Ayub said he was instructed to raise no objection to the application. When met by the media after this morning's open court proceedings, Zahid's counsel Hisham Tehpo Teik said that the appellate court allowed the return of the minister's personal passport as well as diplomatic passport. He said the grounds cited for the application was that there has been a change of circumstances after the GE15 as Zahid was made Deputy Prime Minister and a minister. Hisham added that Zahid needs the passport for the purpose of performing his duties. He said Zahid is not a flight risk and has appeared before the court at all times. Zahid had appealed the Kuala Lumpur High Court decision on February 3rd, which dismissed his application for the permanent return of his passport. The passport was previously surrendered to the court as part of his 2 million ringgit bail terms in his ongoing Yayasan Akal Budi corruption trial. The ongoing High Court trial is over Zahid's case involving 47 counts of graft, criminal breach of trust, and money laundering involving millions of funds from Yayasan Akal Budi. Still on Zahid, the Deputy Prime Minister has addressed the issue of political appointments and defended the government's decision to appoint some politicians to lead government agencies. The government will not appoint any individual who is unable to contribute to government organizations or agencies. This is according to Deputy Prime Minister Ahmad Zahid Hamidi. Zahid said that all appointments are made based on cabinet guidelines and on the advice of the Prime Minister. He said appointments of MPs or assembly persons shouldn't be looked at as if they were appointed just because they have a political position. He added that their background, credentials, and experience are also taken into account. He said this was something that has been done before, but they will not appoint any individual who cannot contribute to the organization they lead. Meanwhile, when quizzed on the appointment of Ashraf Wajdi Dusuki as MARA chairperson, he said it was based on the UMNO's Secretary General's expertise, experience, and credentials. Zahid said Ashraf was not only a politician but a banker with expertise in Islamic banking, and it would be a waste to not use his experience and credentials to help develop MARA. Political appointments in government agencies have become an issue recently following a number of appointments. This included Ashraf as MARA chairperson, Jazlan Yaakob as Felkra chairperson, and Hussam Musa as Syarikat Perumahan Negara Berhad chairperson. Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has demanded Anwar prove his often repeated claims that he had, while in power, amassed wealth for himself and his family members. Former Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has called for Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim to show proof of claims that he had amassed wealth for personal riches while he was in power. Mahathir said this in response to Anwar's remarks at PKR's Special Congress last week, where he called on Malays to not be fooled by leaders who claim to fight for their rights but at the same time go on to amass wealth. According to Mahathir, Anwar had used the claims as an excuse to allegedly stop the recent Malay People's Proclamation event that had invited him as a guest. In a statement today, Mahathir said that he wanted to see the evidence that he had amassed wealth for himself, for his family, and for his children. He added that hurling accusations without proof is easy, but an unproven accusation cannot be accepted as truth and is slander. Mahathir also insisted that all the Malay losses only happened after his 22 years in power, and again when the first Pakatan Harapan government was toppled. He further claimed that the reject to pro-Malay gathering would mean the government has, with UMNO as its partner, rejected the federal constitution and the party's constitution with promises to protect Malay rights. A Sabah PKR leader has submitted a memorandum to the state government with a demand for Pakatan Harapan to be given spots in local councils and village committees. Sabah PKR has claimed that Pakatan Harapan is being sidelined for political appointments by the state government. This included at the village level. In a statement last night, Sabah PKR Deputy Chief Sazali Donol said if this trend continues, it may cause trouble for the state government. He said he was worried that it could affect the smooth operation of the state unity government, and declarations of Sabah having a unity government would just be empty words. Sazali said this after he submitted a memorandum to UPCO President Ewan Benedict on behalf of Kota Marudu Harapan. The memorandum called on Ewan to relay to Sabah Chief Minister Haji Noor the Harapan Division's demands for spots in local councils, village committees, and such. According to Sazali, at present political appointments in the district are mostly dominated by GRS and PBS. GRS is led by Haji G and was initially Perikatan Nasional's arm in Sabah. However, after the 15th general election, Haji G realigned GRS to side with Anwar Ibrahim instead. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. If you'd like to support independent media, do consider subscribing to MalaysiaKini.com. I'm Kimilia. Thanks for watching.